Hey everybody, it's Maya back again with another video. Today I am bringing you, oh I got it, oops. Hey everybody, it's Maya back again with another video. Today I thought I would bring to you my June wrap-up video. Now I know I probably did things out of order because I already showed you the books I want to read in the month of July, but I didn't tell you what I had read in the month of June, but I do what I want. So last month in June, I was able to read 5.5 books. I'll tell you about the half when we get there, but let's go ahead and get started. The first book that I was able to complete in the month of June was The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Now this book follows our main character Nick, who I believe is from the Midwest, and he decides that he wants to move to New York to see how the other half lives. While he is there, he meets a cast of different characters, one of which being Great Gatsby, and as a matter of fact, he actually lives nearby where this fantastic and mythical man lives. And one day he is invited to go to a party of the Gatsbys, and that is where a lot of the fun begins with this book. And what I've noticed is that there's a lot of imagery, and the things that are being described are just so vibrant and so radiant that sometimes I had to go back and reread different sections and say, oh my goodness, that is crazy. I will say that the book ended in a way that I wasn't expecting, and I got a little sad. Hope that doesn't give anything away, but I got a little sad when I came to the end of the book. I would definitely read it again, and I'm on the fence of whether I would buy the book, because if you saw my other video, I had borrowed it from the library. So if I were to find the book, I think on sale, I would purchase it. But overall I really enjoyed the book, and I was glad that I was able to read one of the classics. The next book that I was able to read was Howl's Moving Castle. Now the reason why I had wanted to read that book is because I've seen the movie several times and I enjoyed it so much that I thought I needed to read the book that it was adapted from. Now, if you are unaware, Howl's Moving Castle is about our main character, Sophie Hatter, and she is the eldest of 3 daughters, and she finds that being the eldest one is a bit of a curse because she thinks that she is quite plain and that she doesn't have anything to offer like her younger sisters do. And while she is working at her hat store, which is the family hat store, she is met by the Witch of the Waste, who then casts a spell on her, turning Sophie into this quite old but still spunky lady. And throughout all of this, we are introduced to the idea of the wizard Howl, who has a bad reputation of being, how do you put that? He just has a rep for going after the ladies. He would be a Mr. Steal Your Girl if that term was around in those days. I will say that the book and the movie have similar themes, however, they're completely different to each other in certain ways. And I would suggest, if you have read the book and not the movie, see the movie and vice versa. The book is quite graphic at times, and I will admit Howl is very annoying. I just didn't know why people put up with him, because he was very bratty, very superficial, and just a bit too much to handle. But with that being said, it was a fun book to read. I probably would borrow it from the library again, but I don't think, no, I can say I wouldn't buy it for myself. The next book was probably one of my favorites, and that is The Enchanted by Renee Denfeld. There are a lot of layers happening in this book, but I'm hoping to give you just the main plot. So, The Enchanted, for the most part, it takes place on death row, and we follow, it's kind of hard, we follow a few different characters throughout. There is the lady, or so she is called, the lady whose job it is to, oh, there's a word for it, but basically to take the prisoners who are on death row off of it. As she is working with her different clients, we meet some of those characters and I have to say, some of the murderers who are on death row. You hear about their stories and why individuals got to be where they are, and on the surface, when you read about what those inmates, what they have done, it's so easy to just write them off and be like, that's disgusting, that's horrific, how are you living with yourself, this is wrong. But with the book, it just gives you insight on how unfortunate things happen to people, which then lead to more unfortunate events, which sadly affect other people outside of themselves. I absolutely loved it. What I really like is that you just find the humanity in all of the characters, which again is a difficult thing to do, but you're able to see the human side of these monsters. I think that's enough because I don't want to give too much away, but I think overall you just find the humanity in everybody, and you just find yourself being a little bit more merciful to individuals, especially when you know where they came from. If you couldn't already tell, I absolutely love the book, so I'm going to try to get my hands on it as soon as possible. The next book that I read, which actually helped me out, was The Name of God is Mercy by Pope Francis. And after a book like The Enchanted, I have to say, I needed some Jesus afterwards, because I was going through it, so I needed some biblical truths to center me again. And with The Name of God is Mercy, it's actually an interview with the Pope, and just listening to him explain the call that he believes is on his life and the underlying theme to many of his sermons, and that is this idea of mercy. It could be, I guess, a bit on the religious side, so if you don't want to listen to that, I'll put here where I start talking about the next book. But it just talks about the idea of being in a world where there is a God that forgives everybody. And because of that, we need to do the same. This isn't to say that people who have done bad things shouldn't pay, but we shouldn't cast people away if they make mistakes, even if they've done the same mistake like 50 times. We have this charge to forgive people and then support them as they're becoming their best selves, so that they don't do those things that they've done in the past again. I very much enjoyed the book. It was a short read and it was very conversational, of course, because it was an interview. And I would say I would purchase the book. If I could, I would purchase it because it's something nice to refer back to in the future. The next book and the final full book that I read in the month of June was The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. Girl, that book, it was everything. Like, The Book Thief and The Enchanted definitely tied for my favorite book in the month of June. So again, there's a lot of stuff happening, so I hope to explain it in the best way possible. Book Thief, it is narrated by Death, and he is telling us the story of a girl named Liesel who is taken to live with the Hubermans, and this is set during Nazi Germany, and because she is German, she has the opportunity, or I guess the obligation rather, to be a part of the Hitler Youth. And as she is going through school and through that, she meets her best friend. His name is Rudy, and you just see their friendship. But what you learn throughout is that Liesel's father, or her foster dad or adoptive father, that he has quite a different view on the world, which is very different than Nazi Germany. And because of that, he takes in this young man, and there's a whole story behind that, but he takes in this young man and he does what he can to help him during this time. And what you will see throughout the book is that when Liesel gets to the Uberman's house, she cannot read very well. So she and her father, they create this bond because they start to read a book that she stole, hence the title, before she goes to bed or when she wakes up from a nightmare. And you can see how books and how reading it really changes her life and make her who she is. Something that I've noticed is that the narrator, he is not thrilled with his job, and he admits that sometimes it's tough being the one to take people's souls from them, or seeing young people pass who have their whole lives ahead of them. And you just read about the burden that he has as being deaf. I absolutely loved it. If you haven't read the book, please do. I definitely will be purchasing this book in the future. So the last book that I'm going to talk about, which was the half book that I mentioned, wasn't actually in the library TBR that I uploaded because it's not even a library book. It's actually my sister's, and it is Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. Now, with this book, there is the Breakfast at Tiffany's short story as well as 3 stories, but I only read Breakfast at Tiffany's because that's the only part that I wanted to read, hence why this is the half book that I mentioned. Now, I very much enjoyed the movie with Audrey Hepburn, but I wanted to read the story that the movie was based on. And with this book, like the movie, you follow Holly Golightly. Well, technically, you're talking to Fred. I don't think we ever know his real name, but he lives in the same apartment as Holly Golightly, and you learn about their friendship and basically how Holly came to be the way that she was. The Holly Golightly in this book, it almost reminded me of Gatsby and the Great Gatsby, because you have these 2 individuals who kind of came from nothing or came from this small town, and they both come to New York City and they make this new life for themselves, and they are surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of glamorous individuals, and they lead this lifestyle where normal people are like, oh my goodness, I could never do that. But with this, you see an individual who I believe is still finding herself, and you feel, or at least I did, I felt compassion for the character. Eventually, I do want to read the other short stories that are in this book, so maybe I'll buy the book for myself, or I'll just borrow it again from my sister. Who knows? But that was the half book. Alrighty, well, those are all the books that I've read in the month of June. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you can, or if you would like, please tell me what books you read in the month of June, and or what books you would like to read in the month of July down in the comments below. And if you don't want to, that's fine too, no pressure. But anyways, I hope that whoever is watching this is having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!